Good morning. It's Friday morning. Today we're going to start with Colossians 3:12 through 17. We're probably going to spend several days on this passage because I think it's very rich. But to read the whole thing, it says, "Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other. As the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. And above all these, put on love, which binds everything together in perfect harmony, and let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you are called in one body. And be thankful. Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly, teaching and admonishing one another in all wisdom, singing psalms and hymns and spiritual songs with thankfulness in your hearts to God. And whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." And as I say, we'll spend several days on this passage because it is so rich and so full of things. But I want to start us off with a story. My old friend Dick. Now, Dick had spent his career as a traveling salesman of sorts in the pharmaceutical industry in Pennsylvania. So he had driven around. He knew every small town, every pharmacy, every pharmacist, and every ice cream shop. Okay? Dick and his wife went on a mission trip with us when they were fairly old. And this mission trip was something this congregation had been doing for almost 30 years. So it was really well organized, down to kind of a science. They knew exactly what they were going to do, who was going to cook, where we were going to eat. All these things had been figured out years before. And one of the traditions there was to have true confessions after dinner at night, which is when we went around and everybody told a story about what happened to them that day. Now, the group had gotten so large that we did sort of change that so that somebody from the group, the work group, would tell a couple stories about what they did that day and maybe, a couple of funny things that happened. So we're telling these stories, and we've been going through Colossians 3, this passage I just read, each day as a part of our devotion in the mornings. And so each day I would give them kind of an assignment. Think about this today. Look for this today. In the middle of our confessions then that night, Mr. Dick stands up and says, "I am very angry." And he starts ranting. And everybody in the place is looking at him like, what's wrong with Dick? He's the nicest guy in the world. And he's so angry. How could this be true? And I'm sitting over there thinking, this is hopeless. If this guy is this mad, then we're done. We're not going to be able to achieve community. We're not going to be able to make any progress. I may as well leave now. Well, he goes on and on and on about how no one is responsible and no one is taking care of things. Now, let me tell you one more detail. Every night after supper and after true confessions and whatever, about 8 o'clock at night, we would walk down a quarter mile or so to this ice cream shop, and we would buy ice cream cones, and they had wonderful ice cream of 30 flavors and very cheap. And some people went on the trip so that they could eat that ice cream. It was that good. It really was quite good. So Mr. Dick is going on and on and on and on, and he finally concludes by saying, and I don't understand how anyone let, and he named a certain kid, go down to the ice cream shop and eat vanilla ice cream. And he sat down. And it took us all a second to realize he is a chocoholic, chocolate ice cream man. And so eating vanilla was just wrong in his eyes. And we realized in a second or two, he'd taken us for a ride. He'd had us all thinking, oh no, this is terrible. And it wasn't terrible at all. So, in memory of Dick and in honor of those work groups, I'll tell you that story. But if you follow these things in this passage and the advice that Paul gives, you really find that the community begins to gel, come together, and actually Dick's rant. It was terrible when it was happening, but once he finished and we got the joke, it did bring us closer together. So even rants can be helpful sometimes. Enjoy your day, and let's talk more about Colossians 3 tomorrow and the days to come. Have a great day.